Hello, welcome everybody. Thank you guys for being here. I don't know if John's here yet. Let me actually pause it until I see John. All right, so
Okay.
we're recording. Thanks for joining us again,
Hmm.
John. It's great to have you here as usual.
Sure.
Um, we're talking about the American national status, what that actually is. You don't actually do this service, right?
Right.
You've just become an American national.
Right.
So we're going to talk about why you would want to do that, what the benefit is, and what the process is like. So
Hmm.
why don't you go ahead and give us a little overview on why you did it?
Well, I chose to do it because I had seen this being developed for many years from the late 90s, and I just didn't believe that the people that were doing it they were doing it correctly. So I just saw it in the background, and I was doing my work and research and so forth. And then around, I guess it was like 2019, like a year ago, just a year and a half ago, I caught on to the YouTube series dating back from 2017 called the T-ROH Show, T-Row Show. It's a broadcast, weekly broadcast. And this was explaining what was done to reestablish the United States of America. And I realized right then that they had done it correctly. And I had been for a long time wanting to
So wait a minute, you realized
disassociate
that they had done some, what did you think was
they
done incorrectly? The
what they had to
American national status or?
yeah, what they had to do was identify the nation because it had no people in it from the year, I'm going to guess, around 1840 to around the year 2010. There was zero population, but the
In
country
terms,
existed.
in like official terms?
Yeah, there was no population. Everyone had died out because they became part of the United States. When the East India Trading Company came over here and saw that people had formed their own country, they said, "Oh, well, we're not going to have any of that." So they took over the ports and they formed the United States. And it
Right.
stayed like that, and it's still that like that. And
Okay,
so,
so the
yeah.
question is that there were people, they just weren't citizens or they weren't part of the United
Oh,
States.
yeah.
Okay,
Right. There was
so
no American national.
right. So this
Yeah.
is a question of designation because there's different United States. There's the constitutional idea of the United States, and then there's the corporate United States, which has been sort of layered on top of it. So our citizenship that we have with our birth certificate is attached to the corporate United States, correct?
Well, the U.S. Constitution is the formation documents of the corporate United States.
Okay.
It's a business.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how you form a business. Okay, so technically, the United States Constitution is a franchise of the East India Trading Company. That's
Right.
why you see the American flag with the stripes and all that. That's an emblem of the East India Trading Company.
So the idea of being an American national, isn't that the designation for Native Americans?
No,
No,
that
it's not.
they had many nations. In Native
Okay.
American, they still have many nations.
No, I mean,
And
once the United States corporation took over, is what
yeah,
I'm.
it marginalized everybody. That's
Yeah.
why there was no more people after like 1840. And then it wasn't until I believe it was around 2010 to 2015 that some people discovered that the United States nor anyone on earth in history had ever identified all 50 states as the land of the United States. Just I'm talking about the United States now.
Uh huh.
No one ever claimed that land. It was just sitting out there. So really the American Indian really is the one that's been the caretaker forever. And
Yeah.
then the US people came in and interfered with that. And there was this very beginning stages of the United States of America. When I say it that way, I mean with a capital T. There's a special designation for the United States of America, capital TUSA. Okay.
Okay.
It's very important. It's
What
not the
is that?
same as, well, the United States is not the United States of America. It's two different things. So the United States is a corporation.
Yeah.
The United States of America with a capital T at the beginning is a nation. The difference is how it was formed and your relationship to the group of people that are in that nation.
Right. So this is what I was getting at about how there are two different ones. I just didn't know the details of what they're called because it's really all about sort of the law and the legal status that they hold us in so that they can trade our birth certificates and stuff in these big funds and stuff like that. So that's why I wanted to have you on because it's very complicated and a little bit hard to understand what the difference is. So maybe you can help clarify a little bit more what that difference is.
Okay, the United States is a company, so your status with the United States is not a citizen. You're not a citizen of the United States. I don't care if you have a passport or a birth certificate. You're identifying yourself as an employee or an employer
Hmm.
of the United States. That's it. You're one or the other. You're not. You don't have a nationality. You've been trafficked. You're basically in the shipping channel, floating in international waters.
Right.
You have no nationality, so you have no protection.
Right. And
And
all
I
the,
didn't understand. Yeah,
well, I
I did
just
not
want to,
understand that in the beginning.
right. And
So
I want to interject that that's in fact the basis for our entire legal system. And the reason the paper is laid out on the page the way it is with the margins, because we live under under maritime law in the United States. So we are considered to be in the water, like you said. And so we
yes,
are like renting space on the earth, basically, is kind of the way they look at it.
you're a slave,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah.
There's no question. There's no distinction between that and the movies you see about slavery with the black people in America. Okay, you're the same thing. It's just that you're not getting physically whipped if you disobey, right? It's
Right.
just money. It's money, and it's
It's a little more
compelling you to do
subtle.
certain things. It's pretty sophisticated. I mean, it's
Yeah.
really, we can get into that, but and I've understood that for a long time, and I didn't really care about that because I just understood it. I just knew that I could choose not to participate, and that's where I developed a lot of my methods
Hmm.
because they had to be legal,
Right.
and not get people in trouble. So that worked out. But I never really concerned myself with having a country. I just knew I wasn't in a country. And then when I discovered that these guys had reestablished the real country that was marginalized back in, well, just shortly after 1781, then I saw they did it right, meaning they followed the procedure that's under international law. And if you guys want to look this up, there's a body of laws that have been established for many hundreds of years,
Hmm.
and they've been collected into a book, let's say. I mean, that's probably not really a way to say it, but it's a book called the Law of Nations.
Okay.
And so when you read that, it's quite lengthy. It will take you a long time to understand it. I mean, you'll understand it faster than me, maybe, but it's a long read. It will take you a couple of years to just get through. You're not going to just sit down there. It's like sitting down and reading the entire US code,
Right.
right? So, but international law applies all around the world. And I use that when I write contracts in some cases, because a lot of the things we deal with in contracts and property rights have to do with your association with certain things.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then when I realized I could have a nationality and I can actually have a role in a real government that's not killing people around the world and trafficking in children and things, I wanted to join it. So there was that motivation. The other motivation is I want to tell the United States to go screw you, right? Go screw yourself. I'm tired of you people,
Yeah.
creatures, in your immoral policies and behavior and ruining the world. And
And
so that was a
taking
vote
our
against the
money,
United States.
taking my
Yeah, I
money
mean,
and using it in ways I don't approve of, you
yeah,
know?
there's that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So okay, so that's the fighting part. Like, yeah, I'm gonna take vengeance, right? I'm gonna quit.
Right.
And you don't have to complete all their little machinations to get out of the United States. You just have to get out. Just go affiliate yourself, associate with a country, and do what that country wants you to do. Which, I mean, there's certain laws you have to follow and things like that. And so the other thing is, I wanted to develop some technology that's not special. It's just technology that hasn't been able to be developed. I think I have a way to develop it, which is, there's like 20 different ways to develop renewable energy with,
Right.
you can go to Home Depot and make this stuff. It's not complicated.
Hmm.
And so I wanted to do that in a way where I'm not affiliated with the United States. So my best move to do that right now is to become an American national. So I explained that when I went through the naturalization process. At the end of it, I was interviewed by 4 judges of the court. Everybody's interviewed. And they asked me why. Why do you want to be an American national? And I already had a plan. My plan was I want to do it for business. I want to be in that country because I have business interests and I want to advance them. And I believe that I cannot advance them as a US citizen.
So
So,
how is it better as a US national to advance? Because what does that have to do with copyright and trademark and things of that nature? They're supposed to protect your intellectual
okay.
properties.
Okay, you don't need the US Patent and Trademark Office to copyright your intellectual property. You can announce it in the public forum like has always been done for hundreds of years. And again, it's under the law of nations.
Okay.
The US has been very slick. They've created all these agencies and procedures and forms and documents, and everybody's trapped in this little bottle.
Hmm. That's
And
right.
so we don't need all that thing. We don't need that because, like, here's an example. I can form a company by simply publishing its existence like anybody else would in the newspaper.
Hmm.
As long as I publish its existence, I can operate under that name and I can structure the company however I want. In our system here in the United States, you've got a list of types of companies. When you talk to people, they go, yeah, I'm an S Corp, I'm a C Corp.
Hmm.
Okay, what is that? An S Corp is a tax classification.
Hmm.
That's not a company. That doesn't
Right.
describe your contract, but everybody talks like that and they don't know any better.
Right.
So
Because
yeah,
they've
we can
been,
we can do whatever we want.
right. Because it's all run by lawyers, basically.
Well, yeah, and also when they monopolize the money system, so when you form a company and you go to the bank, like if I did that, if I wrote up some articles with a partner, a new partner, and we did a thing, and then we published the name and we published the articles, and then we wrote our agreement between ourselves, and then we said, hey, we need a bank, yeah, because we're going to process some payments. So we go to the bank, and the bank says, oh, we don't like you guys. You have to register with the United States. Well, that's where we are, and I don't like that. So I got out of there. Now, you don't have to change your nationality to do these things, but I did it like I was telling you before. It's to
Hmm.
be spiteful and to vote against the United
Right.
States. And I do want the benefits. Now, with the current fake pandemic, what's happening is it doesn't matter what your nationality is. So I know a lot of people ask me if I change my nationality, does that matter? No, because you're still viewed as some sort of risk, because
Yeah.
they just make this stuff up.
Because they're saying it's a health excuse to lock you down and control you and tell you where you can go. Yeah.
Yeah, and for me legally, let's say, I know a lot of people ask me this, what about the tax system? Well, the tax system, I've already, back in the 90s, I figured out how to arrange my property rights and run my businesses so that I don't have a tax liability. So I literally have not filed a return for like, well, let's see, since 93. So that's like 27 years. Okay, consecutively, never had a problem with the IRS. I help people with IRS problems. And then I thought, well, that's great. I can change my nationality and then they can never really say anything if they ever wanted to say anything to me. I'm out for sure,
Hmm.
as a matter of law.
That's true.
So it makes it a bit easier. I still won't have any problem, but yeah.
So these are a couple of benefits of being an American national. What other benefits? I mean, how do you travel as an American national? Do you still have an
Well,
American passport? I mean, what do you do?
I don't use a U.S. passport. I have, in fact, I was just looking today on getting my passport moved over to the United States of America. And that passport looks just like anyone other passport, any other country's passport. It's recognized. Now, it is recognized in international law under the law of nations. You have a little extra step though, because if you look around the internet and you find, like I was just looking at a visa program, they don't they don't understand, they don't have it in their database as to what the United States of America is. So you have to talk to the embassy, and sometimes you have to go through the I call it the USA. They don't like me to say that, but I go to the USA's embassy to go to the foreign embassy so that they can be reminded that the United States of America is another country. It's just not listed in your software, like your drop down boxes and things.
Right? Yeah.
So you would use a passport, and the land of the 50 states, that's the country. And the only nation that has dominion over the 50 states is the United States of America. It is not the United States legally now. Now here's the relationship. The United States has never declared its, let's say, dominion over the 50 states. It just never did that. Instead, what it did is create like a 300 square district regions of parcels of land over the whole continent
Hmm.
of what you would call the USA.
Are those
And it's
counties or
not
what are they?
50, what's that?
What are those the counties? What are they?
No, no, they're called city states or districts. You've
Okay.
seen this language evolve in the last 30 years.
Right.
So they created these little rectangular shaped districts. They're called city states, or now they're called strong cities, or you'll see this language. There's a
Uh-huh.
map on my website. If you go to aceofcoins.com, look at the July article from last year. It's called The American National. And in there, there's a link to the map that is the United States. It's these rectangular districts, and that is an overlay on top of the 50 states. So if you associate with those districts, then you're a US citizen. To get out of that, you would declare your residency in the United States of America in one of the 50 states, and you would do that using the latitude and longitude of your location, of your home address, for example.
Uh-huh.
It's a
Yeah.
little bit more sophisticated than that, but basically you get out of it by getting out of the overlay and you declare your residency. Now I'm going to explain how the legal significance of this. Declaring residency. The United States of America has this software function and a publication service where when you declare your residency with your legal name, once that name is published outside of the overlay of the United States, your person that's been trafficked is
Hmm.
now not trafficked anymore.
Right.
You now become the trustee of the person.
So you have taken your You've taken your bond or whatever that is. I don't know if
Yeah,
it's
well, there may be bonds out there, but there's no surety anymore.
so. What does this have to do with? I mean, I'm probably getting into a lot of concepts that a lot of people on the call don't necessarily know about, but what does that have to do with the straw man? So you have a straw man.
Well,
Isn't that your
you
fake
you control the
identity?
straw man, then you're the
you're
trustee of the
you're
straw
the
man.
trustee and you're no longer,
Yeah.
because the straw man is the fake identity you have inside the corporate United States, which is the overlay of all those city states, which is what we think we're in when we're living here and functioning in the normal day-to-day way of doing it, but we're
Mm-hmm.
actually a trafficked person in that way. And then
Mm-hmm.
we have what's called a straw man, which is basically, it means that we're considered dead by them, and that the
Mm-hmm.
straw man is a way that they control our assets and our value, basically. So when you take control of the straw man, you're claiming that you're basically alive by claiming to be a member of the natural, actual, physical 50 states. Am I correct in
Okay.
saying that?
That's close, and I'm not sure. I mean, there's different ways of I've heard it described. My understanding is that once you take control of your straw man, you become literally the trustee of the person,
Yeah.
which means no one can use that person. The person is your legal identity. It's
Uh-huh.
how you interact with the world.
Right.
It's legally how you interact in the fictional world. It's always going to be a fictional world.
Uh-huh.
Um, so you take away the ability of that person to be used as a surety. Now, I don't
Right.
know what happens really in the financial world. I think debts go away. What I'm told is that it takes about 18 months for debts to go away.
It has something to do with your liability and what you're liable for,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah. And yeah,
And
and
the way that,
one of the things that I'll caution everyone here, you should be aware of this, and you probably already understand that the United States of America is not going to be, they don't want to anyone that come from the United States or somewhere else and use the country of as kind of like a weapon against the United States. They don't want you to come to the United States of America, become an American national, and then attack the United States.
right.
Attack the IRS because now you're not one of them, and it's not what it's for. It's to actually join a country, to change your association and to do things in your life. And maybe you want to go into public service, which I do. I want to be in government for like 1 year. I want to do something, work for government. I don't want a salary. I want to do something like that, and I think that's the way it should be. I don't want to join the military. I'm 52, so I'm not interested in doing something like that, but I could. All right, that's available. So as far as passport goes, they have a passport just like, it looks a lot like the UK passport. It's
Okay.
maroon with gold emblem. I don't have mine yet. I'm still in that process of getting it. I do have my national ID card, and all it is a little PVC card. It's got a hologram on there, but it's an official document of a country, and it's got the official seal on there. And I can use it for a driver's license and identification.
Oh, that's a whole other subject,
Yeah,
driving, which is actually
yeah.
traveling. We're not driving when we're
Well,
driving, and they give you
mm,
driving tickets, but you're not driving, you're traveling is a whole other set of designations. But so that's kind of my next question. If you're an American national and you have their version of whatever license for operating a vehicle, and you get pulled over for a ticket, how does that work? Do you still get the
oh,
ticket? Are you
you
still
could.
liable?
It still works like you don't escape from liability.
Right,
It depends on if you injure somebody. So
right,
it would be like a person who's in Canada, and I've seen the statutes on this. I've seen the case law, and basically, if a Canadian comes over here and gets a speeding ticket, he can literally ignore it, and nothing will happen.
right.
If he comes back in 10 years, that ticket didn't go away.
Yeah, that's got some fees
So
attached to it. It's gone up, whatever.
yeah,
Yeah, if you ever wanted to be
yeah.
here long term, it would be an issue, kind of a
Yeah,
thing.
and if you injure somebody, of course you have to make someone whole if you injure them.
Right.
If you commit a crime in that situation, that you could be held under whatever the international relationship is between your home country. So I live in the same house I did when I was a U.S. citizen. Now I'm an American national, but I'm in a different country, and I live in the same house. It's interesting.
Yeah.
But you do understand a couple more things, and I'll just give you guys. I'm not telling you to do this. I'm just
Yeah.
going to say it is possible to, once you understand what you did and your status, and don't confuse the term status because there's a lot of idiots out there selling changing your status methods. That's
Yeah, I know.
ridiculous. You're not going to do
Those
anything
are
there. You're still
those are
trafficked.
dangerous. Yeah.
All right. But you could argue a traffic ticket if you wanted to as a non-resident, as a non-citizen, as a person who is from another country, and you could argue it as in the fact that you're the trustee of the person. Okay. And once you go into court and argue that, there's no case because there's no surety, there's no instrument, there's no trust in which you're not coming into the court as a trustor, you're coming in as a trustee. And I'm not saying guys should go fight a case like that. That's a general understanding.
Okay. Which is again kind of a more, I'm not sure I fully grasp that, but I vaguely understand that it's legal designations and legal ways in which you're, responsible to the fines or not, or,
Mm-hmm.
or you have an overriding entity that is responsible to the fines. And it gets a little complicated because there's layers of you legally, right? And how they look at you. But I just one other so I wanted to know so what are the other benefits of having the American national status apart from like not
Okay.
being in this fake system?
The one thing I really haven't benefited from that I should, I'm so busy, but I joined some of their trade unions and I haven't developed relationships with other people in those trade unions. And there's a trade union, there are many trade unions in the United States of America for many different professions and industries and occupations. So if I wanted to be in the electricians trade union, I could just join it and I could talk to other people or computer programmers or whatever. I joined up for lawyers. I don't like that one. That's kind of what I do right now, but I don't want to do that. I want to get into something else. I'm more of an entrepreneur than I am a lawyer or an attorney.
Right.
So they have their own bar association and things like that. Again, I really don't like being associated with that. It just turns out that I just do that type
Because it's
of
a
work.
lot of contracts you have to navigate in order to succeed in the entrepreneurial world. I
Well,
mean,
that helps to know that stuff, but
yeah,
I don't like to
definitely.
be associated with attorneys.
Yeah.
I have an area of competence in there that I use to help people, but you can join the trade unions and they're very powerful, and they're connected to other people in your area that have your area of expertise, and you can develop things. You can get into business relationships and investing and things like that. They also have a Continental Bank. The Continental Bank is older than the Federal Reserve. It was formed, I believe, I don't know how old its charter. I think it was formed under the Law of Nations, I believe. Um, I believe the charter was issued by the United States of America, and it's got to be in the 1770s. It's been in existence since then.
Hmm.
The difficulty with communicating with the bank is that you're talking to a bank that's operating in the 1800s with today's technology.
Yeah.
So they're behind. They're a
Yeah.
little bit behind. Now, this year, I believe they developed a coin on the blockchain, on one of the blockchains. I believe they used Ethereum. And so it has its own coin right now. So I'm not sure yet how it's interchangeable. One of its problems was, and I had discussion with someone who was formerly in the government of the United States of America, and I asked about, like, what they've done already is they've exiled some people, like the Clintons. So that way the Clintons can't use the USA to escape justice from the United States. So there's that thing going on.
Okay, so these are the
Uh,
layers of the justice
yeah,
system and
yeah,
how the
yeah.
politicians, the big, government people, like the presidents and governors or whatever, how they escape justice is because of these different designations. That's how they are able
Yeah.
to.
So they don't want them to they don't want to be used as Argentina was, okay?
Uh-huh.
Like in World War II.
Right.
So okay, so the continental dollar is pegged to silver uh, for 1 ounce to 1 unit of currency. So it's roughly like 16 US dollars to one continental dollar,
Okay.
whatever silver is.
And that's the
And
dollar that
yeah,
the old bank that you're using that they use
yeah,
has.
the Continental Bank uses the continental dollar, the
Dollar. Okay.
UCD. Now,
It's actually
UCD,
backed by real currency, by real
it's
money.
money. Oh
Yeah, it's
yeah,
real money.
it's
Yeah.
money. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, the UCD is the international currency code for the continental dollar, but the ISO refuses to list it. So there's a lot of things going on like that. They just don't like the fact that the
They don't
country
want
got
anyone to know
recovered.
about it. They don't want people to know,
That's
oh, this
right.
is a
They
better
don't want,
solution. Let's go use it.
yeah,
The
yeah.
whole point
So
is that if it's secret, then they can get away with it. As soon as everyone knows about it, the jig is up. And people are like, oh,
yeah.
why would I do that if I
So
can
so
cover
the
it?
United States of America has its own bank. You can be a part of it. The problem is with the currency by international law, the UCD is supposed to be interchangeable with the USD,
Uh-huh.
just like the euro and the pound, okay?
Mhm.
Now they're not. They're refusing to deal with the UCD. Okay. Um, so what I they were the country the USA has issued arrest warrants for some criminals that you and I would want to see arrested. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I asked about that. I said, well, why haven't you prosecuted them? And I was told that they don't have a sufficient prison system. And I said, well, why don't you just make a deal with the United States? Ironically, make a deal with the U.S. to use its prison system, which it is. It would. It would do that. No problem. and it could prosecute these people. And here's the problem: it was the currency. They wouldn't honor the continental dollar, so
Wow.
they couldn't. So the United States of America is being denied a lot of government facilities just because. And the relation, here's the relation: the United States is the occupying military force of the United States of America. Only the United States of America has dominion over the 50 states. The U.S. is kind of like an invading force.
Right. Yeah,
The
we've been
U.S. came in,
occupied for
it's occupying. Yeah,
300 years, 200
that's
years,
right. Yeah,
250 years. Yeah.
yeah. So here's the cool thing about its pension program, because I know a lot of people ask me this. In the United States, the pension program is for slaves. You save up money and you put aside some money in a form of a tax, and you miss all kinds of opportunity throughout your lifetime for 40 years, and then you get a pittance that they're about to steal from you all,
That's
and
right.
you wonder what's up, you know? So here's how. Okay, when money is created, which governments can do, and they should do. Money is created by governments. It
Uh-huh.
should not be created by central banks. But in any case, in our country, in our world system, money is brought into existence when people like us borrow it.
Hmm.
Okay, so that makes us poor.
Yeah, because it's
That
debt
that
based. Yeah,
yeah, that takes our that's a tax. That takes our money from the future. It's taking it from our children and grandchildren and so forth.
because there's
Okay,
interest and all of this. Yeah.
oh yeah, the United States of America does the same thing, except the only time it creates money is when it's going to pay a public benefit, not when a consumer is going into debt. If a consumer wants to go into debt in the United States of America, it's a legitimate debt, like someone actually lent you some money. Okay, and you can
They
do
use real
credit.
money.
Yeah, but you can do credit without that. You can do credit just like here in the States without hard money. You just have to write the contract. But here, the environment for it is not available. It's not easy to get. You just have to be kind of like creative and be an entrepreneur. But when people retire in the United States of America and they're American nationals and they want to use the pension program and they're a certain age, I think it's 65. At age 65, you qualify, provided there's nothing else wacky going on, like you didn't commit crimes or something like that, or you didn't cheat the system. And as long as you don't cheat the system, just like any other pension program, here's how it works. There's an understood living expense for someone of a particular demographic. They're not going to supplement the cost of living in a $7 million a year mansion, but you can have regular living expenses and not be a poor person, but live in a nice middle class, environment. And what happens is when you have bills, light bills, grocery bills, do we want to go on vacation, buy a car, things like that, the other person, you sign a voucher for the other person that's giving you the service of the product. You sign a voucher, and that voucher gets deposited into the Continental Bank, and those funds are cleared. So now the money's available to the service provider or the product seller, and then you got the benefit of those products and services, and that's the pension program, roughly.
So essentially, you are able to get real value in real time for things, goods and services that are exchanged, instead of having this little tiny fractional check that you're getting every month that is your Social Security.
Right. This is more a moral way to issue credit when you're paying a government benefit instead of issuing credit when someone's going to go buy a car. The person, he might be buying a car, but the issuance of credit comes down to paying a government benefit, like paying for a road to be built.
Right.
That's going to be the creation of money. Uh, a pensioner who's 65 or older is going to pay his light bill. That money is coming from the government that creates the money,
Got it.
and
But
it's
so
just
they do
normal.
create it for the pension, basically, for the things that are
Yeah,
needed in that pension. And it's more money actually than what you would get with Social
and it's
Security.
self-regulating because as people die off and the population does this, it changes and goes higher or lower. The value of the currency stays about the same,
Uh-huh.
and there isn't this wacky inflation that we're seeing
Right.
that requires people to have no savings and go borrow money like a madman to actually succeed in business.
Right.
Yeah,
Nuts.
so
Yeah.
it's a moral system, but it's very small. But we do have now millions of people. We've repopulated the country, all right, and half of the states are now active. They have their own legislatures. They have their own court systems.
So it's growing.
It's growing, yes, quickly. You can even look at its website. I'll give you the address in a second.
Yeah.
So half the other states are not just vacant, just sitting there out there floating in the wind. They are legal structures. These are political bodies, and they are in trust. They're being held in trust by the United States of America so that no one else can claim them. So they can't be stolen by creatures.
or
the evil
other
people.
countries or whatever.
Other countries, exactly, because yeah,
What if
once
France
they realize,
decided they wanted Montana? I mean,
yeah, that's right. If we didn't put them in trust, they'd be taken. Yeah.
yeah,
So if you want to go to the country's official website, and by the way, I am not speaking in its behalf. I am not a spokesperson for the United States of America. I'm an American national. I can share my experience with you. I'm glad to show you how to do some of the things because I needed help too when I did it because
yeah.
it was a difficult process.
Yeah, I just want to
It's
be
not very
very
easy.
clear that this is just a conversation about experience with it, not about
Yeah.
recommending the service or even recommending anyone specific, but there's more information that can be found at the website. What is it?
Yeah, it's called the United States of America 1781.com.
Yeah.
The United States of America 1781.com. And the title case doesn't matter on that one. It's just that legally, the legal designation is capital letters.
1798?
1781.
1781, that was close. .com. Okay.
Dot com.
The
It's,
United States of
yeah.
America, 1781.com. Okay, I just put it in the chat. So anyone, I didn't put the www, but you can just copy it and put it in your browser and go take a look. I think it's worth at least investigating and looking at what they have to say. I haven't been there yet. I'm going to go check it out because it is pretty interesting. And one of the things a lot of us who are in crypto are concerned with is what our citizenship is going to be in the long term, and we don't want the United States to be able to reach out and control you no matter where you go, in the world, because they'll still try and take your taxes and all that kind of stuff. So it's important, and there's other options for citizenship. About Liberland. You could become a citizen
Hmm.
of Liberland if you want. I think it costs a
Hmm.
Bitcoin to do that, so it's pretty expensive now. But um, how does that work? Like if you become an American national and you go to another country, or that whole tax liability. I know that we can set up our assets in such a way through the LLCs like you did, so that, like you've done for our members, so that we are not having those big tax liabilities. I think that's
Yeah,
the first line
that's
of
easy. Yeah.
defense. And
Right.
and then what about, say, because like say you're really relocating to another country and you're trying to establish a life there and be able to have the benefits of living in this new country and property and things like that. Is it better as American national? Is it easier? Do you know?
Yeah,
Does it
for
make
money it
sense?
is. For money, that's a good question. Right now, if you're a U.S. citizen and you have a bank account or some interest or your name's on a company somewhere in another country,
Uh-huh.
you could be subject to huge fines and penalties for not filling out these complex, impossible forms with the Financial Crimes Network, where the IRS administers it, such as Form 5471. Okay, I wrote an article on that too last year. Um, I have some clients with huge problems like that because they did these things, and even if you can have someone fill these forms out for you, it's kind of like a tax return, but it's worse because they made it so complicated that you can never comply. Even if you complied, they can just say you didn't comply. So it's really the way to punish people that go offshore. But if you're an American national and you go open a bank account, let's say in Brazil, and you identify yourself as an American national, the United States of America does not have a treaty with Brazil or a tax system like the United States, and Brazil would be under no duty to report your account and activity to the United States. And even if it did by mistake, the United States couldn't do anything because you're
Because
not
you're a national.
them. You're not an employee or an employer
That
in the
makes
United
sense.
States. So that's a nice benefit there. I mean, I didn't do it for that reason, but
That is a good
that's cool.
benefit. That's a really
Yeah.
good benefit, because a lot of people who go offshore do have problems, as you were saying later on, dealing with the
Hmm.
regulations of the government and their requirements and stuff that, like you said, it's like
Yeah.
you're being required to know a very complicated dance, but you've never
Yeah.
been told the steps. And then they
Right.
tell you you're doing it all wrong. And even if you get it right, they're still going
That's
to tell
right.
you you did it wrong so that they
That's
can
right.
tag you for money.
Yeah.
So,
So what's interesting is because of what just happened, I think it was last year or a couple of years ago, Trudeau had, let's say he broke the social compact.
okay.
He did something, and I forget what it was. He did an announcement. And so that prompted the United States of America to recognize that as a repudiation of the mandate that the government was installed to serve. And
Uh-huh.
once that happens, it frees the people in Canada from not complying with anything. There's no law. They don't have to really. They're only under international law now, and they're crimes. Like if you kill somebody, that's a crime. Just because your
It's
government's a criminal doesn't mean you can be. But anyways, what the United States of America did is offer a refugee program for the Canadians. There's actually a
We don't need
refugee
it.
program.
It's actually Canada where there's more freedom now, is what you're saying, right? So, but did
Well,
he
the
do it on purpose?
Canadians can become American nationals under the refugee program. They just have to ask for asylum
Okay, but why would they want to?
because their government has been overthrown
Since when?
a couple of years ago.
By who?
Trudeau.
By, okay,
It
I
was
thought.
announced by Trudeau. It was overthrown by what they're doing now.
Okay, so I'm confused because I thought he was freeing them.
Yeah, I mean, from their citizenship obligations, once he repudiated the social compact, it's done.
Did he do it
There's
on
no
purpose?
obligation. Yes.
And so
Yeah,
he
and
actually did them a benefit, but the United
yeah,
States
he
is
did.
saying you can come here if you want to get free from the benefits that you were just given.
Well,
That
they
doesn't
can
make sense.
they have a gateway now to become American nationals very easily.
Oh,
The American
didn't
national
have
just said, "Hey
before.
guys, come on
Okay,
over here. We've opened this up for you legally now.
got
Before
it.
it would have been a long process to become. Now you
Got
don't."
it. Got it. And so
Okay.
now the American national, real country of the United States can actually grow with
It's a
more
country.
people,
They
not
were
just,
helping. Yeah. They
okay.
offered Trump, I think it was $20 billion for the wall. The USA did. I don't know if what that deal has turned out to be, but they offered him a lot of money for that. The other thing that, okay, so people ask me about cars, so vehicles.
Yeah.
Because I have a national ID card, I can use it to drive well, I can use it as a driver's license. Now, I don't want to get into that subject too much, but I
Okay.
can use it as a driver's license and I can use it as an ID and all this stuff. Um, but I have to make sure that my car has been exported. Now, my car currently is registered. Let's say it's registered in my name, which it's not. Uh, I would have to go to the DMV and export my vehicle to the
To,
United States of America.
right.
The DMV has a process. They will take my documents, they'll take my plate, all that stuff, and they'll certify that it's exported.
Which is in
Then,
the exact same physical location, but it's
yes,
exported from the corporate company, United States to the physical.
yes, that's
Okay.
exactly right. So I did that to my person. Now I'm doing it to my car. And then I before I do that, they tell you just get a tag from us. You have to pay a fee. It's probably $3 or something, and you get a plate for the back of your car, and you put that plate on the back of your car, and that way the cops don't harass you, and it's legal,
Uh-huh.
and you've exported your vehicle, just like if you were to go to Canada and export your vehicle there or Mexico or whatever. So there's that. So you export your vehicle. Now what happens is when you become an American national, they want to know why, and they ask you. They do an interview. It's like an hour. They say it's 15 minutes, but it's like an hour. And they have a good time with it. We had a good time. It was kind of interesting. Um, they check chain of title. So chain
Of
of
you.
title has to do with chain of title on you,
Yeah,
on your
of you,
name,
not your
and
car.
how your name has changed over the years, what it was on your birth certificate. And so they give you new documents. You no longer have a birth certificate. I think it's called a something of birth, certificate of birth or something.
Uh-huh.
It's something different. So you're not in the system of commerce anymore because you are the trustee of the person. And that's why they check the chain of title to make sure that they can legally do this.
That you're not owned by someone else, that your slave
That you
contract
are
is
the
with someone
the
else.
the description of the person is correct. I believe. I'm saying it the wrong way, but yeah, it's interesting. I'm just sharing with you guys the language and the kind of experience you'll have. And
Yeah.
so all they really want from you in the beginning for the naturalization process is to collect all your documents and do a criminal background search, just like you would join any country. And you give it to them, and they have this waiting period. And when you're done with that, they can schedule an interview, and you do 2 interviews. And then if they accept you, which is likely, you know, then they will swear you in, and that's it. Then you're an American national, and you get your documents.
Okay.
You can do that for your children.
Hmm.
Uh, the official rule is your children have to be 21, so that kind of defeats the purpose of the driver's license and all that.
Uh-huh.
So there's a remedy around that, but what I was told is you could ask for your child to have it, move his license over and all that at age 16, 18, whatever. You have to just ask.
Okay.
They can do that. You have to ask the court. And I haven't done that. So yeah, basically because I did it, all my children, and they were underage. They were all minors at the time, so that made them all American nationals.
Because they were
My
your
wife
children
is not. Yeah,
automatically.
yes, automatically. I just don't have their documents yet. And then my wife is not. She's a U.S. citizen and she's a Bulgarian citizen.
Okay.
So and she kind of doesn't care, and she probably will do what I did once I get my documents. So
And
it's
become an
not
American
urgent.
national too.
Yeah.
So, but was she born if she's Bulgarian, and was she born here or was she born in Bulgaria?
She was born in Bulgaria and
Okay,
she was naturalized here,
got it.
and they have a provision for that. You can become an American national under those conditions.
Okay. Well, that
So
makes
yeah,
sense. Yeah, because
yep,
you're now already claimed by the United States, the corporation. So then you have all the proper
yeah.
documents for your chain of title,
It's a
right?
chain of title. That's the
Yep.
important thing.
But you can't
Yes.
probably become an American national if you were born in Bulgaria and you're living here until you get an actual like green card,
Well, I
citizenship.
don't know.
You don't
I'm
know.
sure there's some sort of
There might
naturalization
be a way.
process.
Yeah.
There might be a way. Yeah.
Because that's a big deal
So
for people importing or immigrating into the United States. I know my mom was English, she
okay.
a long-term complicated process for her, but if there was a way to bypass that and just become an American national, that would be much easier for people
Sure.
who wanted to live in the United States without being hassled in those ways.
You can always ask. I'm sure
Yeah,
there's a program. I mean,
it might be.
it's
I
it's a
mean,
country. I mean, look, a country, if you go, and I haven't studied this too much, but I have studied a little bit of the international law. And basically, the country is supposed to protect its inhabitants.
right,
All right. And when you go there, you're expected to act like them and you're expected to do the same things they do and follow the same laws that they do, obviously. I mean, just like
right,
someone's house. So you can just ask. It's a country, and you can go there, or they have the right to say no, you can't come here, or no, you can't stay here,
right,
because it's in the interest of everyone else who is here. So it's kind of interesting. But you can always ask, just like your neighbor. You can go knock on his door and ask if you can hang out with him and watch the game,
right,
and he could say no. So,
yeah,
but I
right.
want to associate with people that are of like mind or similar, or they're not retarded like most people around here. I'm not saying you all are, but I'm
No,
just really getting sick of the mental illness
I will have.
around us.
I just had a long conversation. So this is actually comes from my son. He was like, he's been saying this to me a lot lately. He's like, so average IQ in the United States is like 98, right?
It's
And
going down
it's
fast,
going down because
whatever it is.
all the media, all the entertainment is designed to make you dumber. But he said the average baby is born with an IQ of 115. So we become dumber as we grow up in this country. And
Yeah.
65% of the population has an IQ between 85 and 115, and those are not high IQs.
No.
And Avery told me all this. My son wants credit for it. Yes, I know. I said that, honey. So but the thing is, IQ is a muscle. It's exercised. We are intelligent because we use our minds, and we are trained not to use our minds. So people who are geniuses, not everyone's just born a genius. People actually have exercised those abilities to become more intelligent. I know my mom used to do the crossword puzzle every day. She spoke Latin.
Sure.
She was
Yep.
educated in England. Very good
Yep.
education there. So it's not just like something that happens to us unless all we do is consume really bad entertainment
Yeah.
and not think at all.
And
Like the
block
media,
the oxygen flowing into your body. That will
yeah,
kill brain cells fast.
that too.
Literally.
Yeah, block
Yes.
it. Exactly.
And do
And
that while you're pregnant. That'll really
oh
make your child
God, make your child
stupid.
really messed up. That's
Yeah.
right.
Right.
So exactly, and all these external decision making, functions in our society, like the media, are designed to make you just not
Yeah.
think. Oh, let's just do it what they say. So it is a muscle, and if it's use it or lose it is literally how it works.
I've had people call me on the phone and say, "What form do I need to fill out so I could be free?" They actually thought there was a form.
Wow.
And I tell them, "Well, I don't know if we can have this even conversation. I mean, if you're going to start out that way." But I tell them, look, man, it's what you do in this world. It's how you behave.
Yeah, it's
Um, you
between
kind
these
of get
two
what you
these two
deserve.
here, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I'm talking to people now, and they're talking about the theme of their conversation with me is, why am I not getting the thing I'm asking for? Because I'm asking permission for it. And I say to them, well, you already have a right for it.
yeah, that's
Why
right.
are you asking permission for the thing?
That's a spiritual
They
law
don't,
you
yeah,
have to identify as what you want to be or do in the world in order to make it happen. Like you can't, if you're asking for permission you know to walk down the street, no one's going to give you permission. If you have to just
here,
say I have the right for this and
yeah,
believe it and go out and do it.
yeah.
So
Somebody was asking me last night about was it the public accommodation? Oh, going into a business where it's a public accommodation, and the fact that it's open to the public means you have an irrevocable license to go there. And he said, where is that?
where is it
Where
written?
where does it say that?
It's in
And
here.
yeah, exactly. This is how people have interacted with each other for thousands of years, and you can get any court to acknowledge that. Oh, by the way, there is case law on it. But let's not talk about that. Let's just talk about how people do things. Okay, that's the law. And I said to him, I said, what law is there that allows you to change your mind?
Right.
Well, if it's not a law, I guess you can't change your mind, can you? Then if you
Well,
can't change your mind, then you can't have a thought, can you?
this is kind of the structure of what this whole agenda with the illness and everything. It's to make you ask for permission for everything, to think that other people are responsible for you for everything. The truth is,
Yeah.
no one's responsible for any of us except ourselves. We're the ones responsible for our own lives and the
Ultimately,
consequences.
yeah. Yeah. One compelling pertinent thing is that people, they're trying to get like their employer to let them go to work without a mask, right? So the employer says, go to your doctor and get a note saying that you can be exempt, which, by the way, they tell the doctors you can't do that. So they're threatening the doctors. So
Yeah.
these people know that they won't get the note. But if they do
Right.
manage to get the note, then they make them do something else, like get a COVID test or something, right?
Right.
Okay, so here's what I
Because
tell them. I say,
they can't have that one person coming to work every day
no,
who's not wearing a mask, who
that's
doesn't
right.
comply, who's
It's
obviously,
totalitarian.
yeah,
So
exactly.
here's what I ask them. Why does someone who's a non-licensed physician, and the reason why I came up with this is because they give their employees this form that says, if you think you have an exemption, you must have a licensed physician write you an exemption. So why do you need a licensed physician to exempt you, to allow you to exercise a right, such as your right to informed consent? Why do you have to get a licensed physician so that the person who's not a licensed physician can impose a medical intervention on you? He's
Right.
not a physician, your employer is not a physician, not working under the supervision of a physician, but he doesn't need a note or anything. He could just force you to into a medical intervention, but
Right.
yet you have to go to a doctor and get permission to exercise a right to informed consent. And see, that's the problem.
That's
People
the
don't
right you
understand that they have a
naturally
right.
have. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
they think they need permission. So, oh, I'll go to my doctor.
Right. Well, it's like, well,
So
everyone
that's
else
that's
is
our
doing
problem.
it. I'll just do what I'm told. That's why this has been working,
Yeah,
because everyone just goes along just so that they don't make waves. And this is what's going to lead to the crisis that's coming. A big part of what's going to lead to the
it's going to be
social
bad.
crisis of the
Yeah.
contract of it, because enough people are going to be like, no, I'm drawing the line at my physical body when you're going to inject me, put needles in me, and but it's gone so far that before it's got to go this far before people, as a
And
collectively masses of people, stand up
yeah.
and riot and fight against it.
And just like the US, it has all these conditions for expatriating. Ignore them. You have a right to a freedom of association. You can associate however you want. So it doesn't matter what their stupid rules are. So
Right.
people ask me all the time, but what about the rules? Expatriation, tax reporting. Don't do it. Don't comply. You know, it's not illegal to not comply. You're just changing your association.
Right. And that's, you mean if you've become an American national or if you go to another country? Either.
Yeah, you could pick another country, pick Brazil, pick Africa, or pick a nation in Africa, whatever. Yeah, I mean, you can choose to associate however with whomever you want.
Right. So, as complicated as some of this sounds, it is the dawning awareness upon the masses of population that they've been tricked, that they've been lied to, which is really triggered by this election, that is going to make them be like, if that's not true, and I've been following these rules all this time, what else isn't true? And that's what's going to make them so angry, is when just on a collective level, when people realize how much of the system and everything, and they've been that their life has been a lie. That's where you're
Yeah.
going to get. And going back to kind of the IQ idea, the intelligent and effective way to fight this stuff is legally, right? By changing your designation, by taking
Yeah.
steps that protect you, and by fighting in the legal system. But that's not that's an intelligent way to go about it. And so this is why we're going to get the violence that we're going to get, is because
Yeah.
large percentages of the population are not thinking and they're just acting.
And they can't learn fast enough. So what do
Right.
humans do when they are being violated?
Yeah.
They fight, and that's
Yeah.
human nature.
You're like, it's like you're back against the wall and you come out
Yeah,
fighting,
that's
because
gonna
that's exactly right. Like
that'll
an
happen.
animal, really. I mean, we're all animals. It's not, I don't mean that in a
Uh-huh.
derogatory
Mhm.
way. I just mean it like the instinctual level of humanity will come out fighting as a
Mm.
last ditch resort. Like, I'm not, that they're going to get it at a certain point. And then it's, it's like all cylinders out,
Yeah. What do
but
you think in the near future? What do you believe is going to be the case in
with
the
the,
next year or so?
with
Like our
what,
society, do you think there's peace? Do you think what?
no, we're going to be having a lot of conflict. I mean, the United States is going to be really a dangerous place. There's going to be a
Hmm.
lot of conflict there. Here, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
here now, but
Hmm.
not everywhere, but
Yeah.
they're
Okay.
going to be taking so many of the resources away. People are going to be
Hmm.
really freaking out for survival, food shortages.
Hmm.
Um, it's just going to be, there's going to be a lot of danger. Not everyone's going to participate in those types of riots and things like that. And you shouldn't, you should stay out of them.
Yeah.
And most people aren't going to be like the targets of attack. It's going to
Okay.
be more violent inside of cities than it is, out in the sticks or,
Hmm.
country farmland, hills and places where you have relationships with your neighbors and you can make trades and you have people
Hmm.
have resources and they've stored things up. Those are safer places. Although in cities, people who have money will be targets, right? And people
Okay.
who are
Yeah.
close to the cities will be targets because you have hungry people, you have starving people, people with nothing who don't understand what's going on are going to go after. Unfortunately,
Hmm.
that's what happens. But the world needs to go through this for this great
Yeah. I
awakening
guess so.
because
Yeah.
as all that is unfolding, all the secrets are going to start to come out, one bit at a time. And that's going to move into next year. And this whole thing, like you're saying, these American nationals, they could legally prosecute
Hmm.
all these criminals that are running our
Hmm.
country, but they can't put them anywhere, right? They can't punish them as
Hmm.
criminals. So some of that, a lot of that information is going to start to become more, uh, like critical mass. You're going to get more of a number of people recognizing it so that those who are thinking are going to take action based on it. And then it's just going to lead to a lot of like pockets of
Chaos.
change, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
it's not all one thing because you have all different groups of people who respond to this stuff all differently.
Hmm.
But, because there are those who think the solution is to just grab some guns and, go to Washington and shoot them. There are others who think that
Yeah.
the solution is to rewrite the laws, or to take it through the legal system. So we are going to have a lot of different stuff happening, but we are having a lot more of the secrets, that the repressed
Hmm.
knowledge and the abuses of the ruling class or the Illuminati revealed into next year. It's really going to kind
Okay.
of start with the election, and then a lot of it is happening and being revealed in 2021. It's going to go for years though. and
Okay. Yeah.
and then
Mm.
but also, like, we also have secret technologies and what's really going
Hmm.
on in space, and all of that stuff is going to start to come out as well. So it's a very interesting time that we're
Yeah.
in this world. Really
Yes.
interesting.
Well, yeah.
So that's kind of the
Well,
larger overview. But like next year with
yeah.
Bitcoin, I mean, we're still going to get a big crash on Bitcoin. It's still going to crash
Hmm.
down very, very hard because around the election, everything is going to go, like, it's going to like rip apart
Hmm.
in terms of the financial system around this election deception, defeat,
Right.
reversal, legal, you know, clusterfuck, whatever you want to
That's what it
call
is. Right.
it. So that's
Right.
all gonna really have a big impact because it's really going to be something that people will be able to point to and go, that was the moment when everything changed. And so next year in Bitcoin, we're going to have peaks and lows that are going to be like shocking, like $20,000 moves in a single day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, really
Huh.
insane. So, I mean, it's going to be, like I keep saying, take your
Wow.
Dramamine, buckle up and hold on. It's going to be a really bumpy
All
ride.
right. All
But
right.
some of us like roller coasters.
Well, I hope that helps you all. I mean, understand my experience
Yeah.
in American National. I'm still learning,
Let me,
but I think it's a nice tool for, being in society. I think that you're around respectful people, and they have their disputes, but they're not trying to exploit each other to the extent the U.S. is.
so the way to do it, if you actually wanted to file the paperwork, is that all on that website that we
You
listed,
can
or is
you
there
can
somewhere
declare
else?
residency with no
Okay.
paperwork.
Okay.
It's just on the internet. Follow the directions. Just go to the website, and you want to declare residency first.
Okay.
I mean, you could just stop there. You don't have to keep doing anything else. It'd take you about maybe 20 minutes. I sat here with Sarah Westall. We did that one time online.
Oh, really?
I showed her how to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking I might
So,
just go do that. So, I'm going to see if there's any other questions for you in here. We've got United States of the United States. Okay, we got that. Um, the Reign of Heaven YouTube channel, Tiro. Okay, that's your channel that you said
right.
for people to go to. And Bill also, Nolan says, "Hi John, how long does it take from start to finish to become an American national in terms of like the paperwork and weeks, months, whatever?"
You could do it in 6 months. That's really fast, actually.
So, how
I
long?
think it took me about 9 months
Okay.
because I was busy. I just, I waited, so, but yeah, you could do it in 6 months.
So 6 to 9 months, really, depending on how fast you return your
Hmm.
paperwork and stuff like that.
Yeah, and
Okay.
that's a matter of getting your documents. So that's
Okay.
another, 6 months or so.
So if anyone else has a question, please put it in the chat so that, before we wrap up the call. So, because I don't really have any more questions for you. I think you were really thorough. It can get like, it can make smoke come out of your ears, some of the legal stuff and how that
Yeah,
stuff works. And unless you've really
yeah,
dug into the legal system and have an understanding of it, it can be a little daunting, but it's worth it to understand it because it really governs everything about your life. And I had some time where I spent dealing with the legal system, and it's been very useful for me to understand how these things really operate. And I think that it's one of those practical things that you're not actually taught, and that is
yeah,
actually, of course they don't teach it in school, but it's
yeah.
very important and useful to understand a lot of this stuff. So
Hmm.
going to this site at least and understanding some of the stuff about it is going to be helpful to everyone. Question, this crisis that will take Bitcoin under 1K should be in January when Trump is announced winner. Well, Trump's going to be announced winner before January because the the official ballot announced, the count, the official, this seal of approval on the account for the votes is, there's two official dates where they come out with official count numbers. One of them is December 8th and the other one's December 14th or 15th. I think it's the 14th. And this is right in line with the
Wow.
total solar eclipse. So I
Oh,
expect
wow.
that we're going to have, which is, total solar eclipses are big deals in astrology, really a big
Wow.
deal. So I expect December, although, it's possible January, it could drag on into January, or it could happen a little after, but usually after the eclipses and usually the critical, most acute time of a big eclipse event is going to be 3 days before the eclipse. 2 weeks is important. It really, a lot of stuff happens, but the 3 days is the most intense. But then you have
Hmm.
aftermath, things that are results of it. So
Mm.
it's like a kickoff event that starts the dominoes rolling, is really what I see it being like. So I expect to see mid-December be really, really crazy and
Wow.
dramatic. you know
Okay.
we're probably not going to see full-on riots or the whole full-on crash having happened all at once. It could happen over weeks, but this is the like the kindling for the fire and
Wow.
the match. It's that's
Well, in spite of all the stress, I know there's some anxiety probably. I am really excited to be alive right now. I think it's
I
awesome.
know. This is such a historical time. It's like
Yeah.
our great grandparents would be shocked at what we're looking at.
Uh,
Well, this
well, they
is,
helped create this situation, but yeah.
yeah, well, that's true. But
Yeah.
we are all incarnated here now to
Yeah.
watch this. This is like the most exciting because it's not on a spiritual level. It's a lot of awakening
Hmm.
and a lot of like raising up our vibration on a collective level and
Hmm.
taking the earth from like the dark ages into like a golden age, actually.
Yeah.
So it's very hopeful. There's a lot of really good stuff coming. I just did a channeling that I'm posting on Sunday on Badao, and then the guides talk a lot about what's coming and what's the future. So it's kind of a lot of exciting stuff. So there is really good stuff coming. And that's why we're here, is to see us all basically get out of jail
Yes. Yes.
collectively to get our
Right.
freedom. I think I have another question here, so let me look. Uh, the December timing report will be out next week. When would you expect the news proving the fraud to come out, that's going to be all through the legal system. I think there's plenty of news proving the fraud. Their biggest problem they have is sorting it and organizing it in an understandable manner. There's lots of proof. There's plenty of that proof. So getting it out to the public is going to be all about having it put into a
Yeah.
digestible form.
They're never going to announce it that way, though. It's
Yeah,
just going to
no.
trickle out, and then people think it's a lie, and then Trump was seizing power and all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why it's going to
Yeah.
be like a brutal battle.
Yeah.
Does the 6 to 9 month time brand include getting your passport? That's for the American national. Does
You
that,
could probably get your passport in 9 months.
if you're asking for it
If
along?
you're just diligent, I'm talking about their timeline. They have time limits, and so if you were in with those time limits, like I wasn't, I just took my time.
Right.
You could probably do everything in 9 months.
Okay.
I mean, that's pretty fast.
Yeah, that's not that long.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's like the legal system always is. You wait for a month and a half for them to answer you, and then you have like 30 days to get your answer in. So it's like you wait for them, and then if you respond quickly, you'll get your stuff done quickly, right?
Yeah.
So,
Pretty much it.
will we have another stimulus package approved before 2021? Probably not. It will probably be happening in early 2021 once we have a president. And the stimulus package is going to have digital wallets. They're going to try and bring out a Fed coin. It's going to be a big mess.
Yeah.
When that comes, that's going to be an issue because they're going to bring out a Fed coin that will be rejected. And so, you're going to see a lot of turmoil around it because people want their money, but then it's all like they're trying to control it, and there's going to be a big fight around all that. So I think that's it, unless John has any other points to make.
Well, I appreciate the time. I always love to talk about this stuff.
Absolutely.
So
I enjoyed
yeah.
it. It was great. I love this too because it's really cutting edge information that's like nobody knows it or knows really even where to get it. So it's all available. It's just sorting it out and finding it. So it's great to get. So I'm going to thank you again for your time, John, and
Sure thing,
everyone
Laura.
can find you at aceofcoins.com, right? And
Yes.
privacyfightclub.com. So
Right. Privacyfight.com. I have privacyfightclub.com, but it's going to redirect you.
Okay.
Privacyfight.com. Also on YouTube, you can search on Privacy Fight as one word for YouTube. I have videos there. And I also, I parceled out my work because I'm dealing with the fake pandemic on one section, and then my core work, the PMAs, LLCs on one. So you can also search on my name, John Singleton, but you have to put in a couple of things on YouTube besides that, like PMA or LLC or something like that. Because I'm sorry,
Get the right.
if you search on John Singleton, you want to put something like fake pandemic or suing Costco or something like that, and it'll show the channel. And if you subscribe, it'll be easier to find.
Okay, so but if they want to get their LLC done through you, they go to aceofcoins.com.
Yeah, Ace of Coins, right? That's the easiest way. You can schedule a time with me and talk.
Okay.
That's usually the most efficient because you'll have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And then we have a membership as well. We're launching that. I think I'm going to announce it this month or probably just next month with a new video membership. So for a whole year we developed it, and now we're launching a new platform. So that's coming up.
Okay, well, exciting.
Yeah.
That's great. There's a lot of exciting things coming, lots
Yeah.
of chaos, and we have a lot of opportunities coming too here in the near future for all of us. So that's it. Thank you again for joining, and thank you everyone for participating in the call. So I'm going to put this up online as soon as it's done. Bye.